LCA. It's an acronym for Life Cycle Assessment, but it's primarily a way to measure the environmental impact of a good or service from cradle to grave. In other words, from its production until its end-of-life stage. This method works for every sector, whether automotive suppliers, cell phone providers, or construction professionals.
Okay, but more concretely, what does LCA really mean?
And how is this idea reinventing the world of tomorrow?
I'm James.
And I'm Amy. Together, let's decode the ideas that are shaping the future of sustainable construction.
Constructing New Worlds by Saint-Gobain. Behind words, solutions, and innovations for a sustainable future. The LCA approach first came from the US and the UK in the 1970s. Still, it only developed into its present form 20 years later when professionals were pressured to reduce their environmental impacts and prove it. LCA has been governed by ISO international and European standards since the early 2000s.
Yeah, its primary use is to calculate all material and energy inputs, air, water, and soil emissions, and waste outputs associated with activities such as manufacturing or transporting a product, for example. This data is then translated into environmental impacts such as the destruction of the ozone layer or natural resource depletion. And once these calculations have been carried out in detail and the impacts evaluated, choices about how the building will be designed, constructed, and used can be made with full knowledge of the facts.
Okay, so using several criteria, life cycle assessments provide an effective and recognized tool to accurately calculate the carbon footprint of a product or a service at every step of its cycle.
Yeah, the idea is for a given product to look at what it generates, which type of impact it has, and at which level, and which step of its life cycle, in order to identify certain crucial points to be improved or innovated upon.
For example, you could prove that a specific product emits fewer greenhouse gases than another, but creates, let's say, more acid rain.
Exactly.
LCAs can also demonstrate that what you gain at one step of a product's life cycle can have adverse effects during another step. For example, insulating a building might reduce energy use and carbon emissions during the use stage. Still, it could generate environmental impacts during the manufacturing and material transportation stages.
Yeah, it seems to me it's all about math, and approximations and roundabout assumptions just don't make the cut. This approach allows manufacturers and architects to prioritize their needs.
It takes a certain level of experience to know how to balance out strong and weak points. And it's difficult to determine a final environmental quality ranking. Nevertheless, LCAs are still a good decision-making tool that are transparent about products' environmentally friendly designs. This global multi-criteria vision of a building's environmental impact is in any case appreciated in the construction industry. LCAs still need to be complemented by additional procedures, such as interior air quality research, for example, which is not even considered.
So then how are the real estate and architecture worlds using life cycle assessments?
Well, Amy, more and more businesses are adopting them either because national regulations require better environmental planning from designers and builders, or because they want to receive international certifications, such as the British BREEAM or the American LEED. They attract the attention of investors and clients increasingly aware of environmental impacts.
Yeah, and here again, life cycle assessments consider every step leading from raw materials and manufacturing through supply chains and use, right up until the building's final disposal.
Yeah, for example, at the end-of-life stage, LCAs also consider a building's deconstruction or demolition, its waste disposal and transportation. And then everything is fed into life cycle assessment software, which has been developed over the last few years, such as the Finnish one-click LCA.
So the main advantage of the LCA method is that you no longer focus on only one type of environmental impact, but on many, at every step of the life cycle. And it's really handy to allow architects to put all of the options on the table, backed by precise data. After that, the contracting authority can make enlightened choices.
LCAs also allow manufacturers, building and renovation industry professionals to obtain certification and act according to their hopes in limiting environmental impacts. More and more of them are using LCAs and agreeing on how to use them so that increasingly reliable tools can be developed.
Constructing New Worlds by Saint-Gobain.
Behind words, solutions, and innovations for a sustainable future.